Here's a somewhat depressing example to start our discussion of estimation. Pause the video for just a second and read it to yourself. Are you done? Good. Now if you did that without pausing, you read really fast. All right, so we have two amounts of oil that leaked into the water. 34,924 and 35,837. Obviously with a calculator, to get the total, we could easily add those two, but to do this in our head, we need to round these numbers, and we can follow the rules of rounding and we can just pick a place value that makes sense. For example, I could choose to round it to the thousands place. That might make it easier, or maybe since there are 4 zeros in the ends of both of these answers, I'll make the last 4 digits 0 here and round to the nearest 10,000. The first number rounded to the nearest 10,000, the 3 is followed by a 4. That would round down to 30,000. And notice there's my 4 zeros. The second number, the thousands place, is 5, and so I would round the 10,000s place up to 40,000. And if we add those together, you can easily do that in your head. That's going to be 70,000, which is the answer. What if instead we had decided to round to the nearest thousands place? Well, since the point of estimation is just to pick nearby friendly numbers, if you had decided to round to the nearest thousands place, we should end up pretty much in the same shape. So 4 is in the thousands place here, 5 is in the thousands place here. Here we're going to round up because the 4 is followed by a 9. I don't know what these extra dots are, I apologize for that. And then 35,837, the 5 is going to round up to a 6 to make this 36,000. And while it is not as easy to add as the 30 and 40 we got earlier, you could probably still do it in your head. 35 and 36, 71,000. And that's fairly close to 70,000, nowhere near 170,000. So we can see that 70,000 would be the best estimate, even though we obviously picked a different place value to round to than the people who wrote this problem, whoever those depressing people are. Notice we can bend the rules of rounding if we like, because it might make it a little bit easier. The key is we just need a number that is nearby the original number. So the logic might go something like 34,924. Well, that's very close to 35,000, and that's what we got when we followed the rules of rounding to round to the nearest thousands place. But 5s are easier to add together than 5s and 6s or things like that. So 35,837, I'm just going to kind of forget about the rules of rounding and just kind of cut off the last 3 digits. Just turn those into zeros. 35,000 is not what you would round 35,837 to if you rounded to the nearest thousands place, but it's close by that number. And 35 and 35 is a little easier to add in your head. 35 and 35 is just 70, and of course you got all these zeros. So feel free to bend the rules of rounding as you like, just to make your math easier. Don't get crazy. Don't say, well, 35,837 would be easier to add if it was 100,000. That's way too far away. But 35,000 is close enough to make your math meaningful. A town needs 47,527 slices of cherry pie for a summer picnic. Now that, folks, is a lot of pie. That's also a very weirdly specific number for slices of pie at a picnic. You really don't know who's going to show up, but all right, we're going to go with it. We know that each pie is cut into 7 slices, so to know how many pies there are going to be, we need to say, well, we're going to divide by 7 to figure out how many sets of 7 there are in this rather difficult number to divide with. So I can't do this in my head. Instead, I'm going to pick a nearby number that is easier to do in my head. And I'm going to think times tables here. So a number that's close to 47,527 would be 48,000. But 48,000 divided by 7 is not going to work out evenly because 48 divided by 7 is not going to work out evenly. So I'm just going to keep bumping the number up to get one that's going to be easier to work with. So 48,000 wasn't that easy. How about 49,000? Now 7 goes into 49 easily and evenly. If I know 7 goes into 49 7 times, then 7's going to go into 49,000 7,000 times. And so there's no rule of rounding in the universe that would let us turn 47,527 into 49,000, but for estimation purposes, we can just pick any nearby number that's easy to work with.